Thanks for joining our Ask the Experts session, Surviving IBM I HA Chaos, the Brutal Reality of DR Solutions. I'm Jason Hardy, Vice President and General Manager of Racksquared Data Centers in Columbus, Ohio. And with me today are two gentlemen that are well-versed in a wide range of DR solutions for the IBM I series operating system. These guys have spent years working in the IT industry, work with a wide range of customers, and have pretty much seen it all when it comes to DR. At this time, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. DJ?
Great. Hey, Jason. Hey, folks. My name is DJ Singley. I work for Mapsys. Mapsys is a technology company headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, and we've been around for about 40 years. Our real strength is the IBM I platform. We're real good at IBM I, and we help out Racksquared and other customers like that all the time with their IBM I questions, comments, and anything they're doing. So I'm excited to be here. I'm an architect, and yeah, thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
Thanks, DJ. Josh?
Hi, Josh Grabill, Operations Manager here at Racksquared. Been in operational IT for about 20 years plus now. Pretty much my experience is helping customers take complex moving parts and backgrounds and put together a nice comprehensive solution from anywhere from disaster recovery to simple troubleshooting and problem solving.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and we'll jump into our topic. As we all know, the IBM Power Platform and the I-Series operating system are a pretty amazing platform upon which many companies continue to run mission-critical applications. With mission-critical being the operative word there, it is imperative that companies have a disaster recovery plan, that if those systems go down, they've got to have a way to recover quickly. There's numerous options out there, but the brutal reality of this is the systems or the solutions can be expensive and they can be very difficult to implement, with some of them actually requiring a third party. Then you get into the ongoing maintenance and monitoring and support of them. There's a lot to look at here. Today, what we're going to talk about is how to not only survive the chaos, but how to put the solutions in place that are going to make your business thrive. So we'll start off with kind of at the very basic level, and some of you will think, you know, that's not DR, but we're going to talk tape. We talk to a lot of people that say that's their DR solution. So, you know, let's just throw it over to DJ. You talk to a lot of people. You've done it for years. Give us the scoop on tape as a DR solution.
You got it, Jason. You would be shocked how many folks think that tape is the penultimate tape backup solution. For me, it's just maybe the beginning. So let's go over some of the things that I have seen, right? So first off, I just want to remind everybody, people love the AS400 or the IBM I platform because it's integrated, it's simple, everything comes with it. It's easy. This is why it's been so very popular for all these years. Tape is an easy way of doing backups, so people naturally gravitate to that. But it really does not give you any DR or HA capabilities. I have lots of business use cases or anecdotal evidence where I see customers trying to, once a fault happens on their IBM I or a disaster happens, they say, I got this tape, what can I do with it? How fast can I get hardware? It's going to be about 2 weeks. You need a data center for it. Oh, really? Well, I'll just use IBM Cloud. Oh, you want to use IBM Cloud? I love IBM Cloud. Who doesn't love IBM Cloud? However, they don't support tape. What? They don't? No, you can't send them a tape. You gotta take that data off the tape, and then you got to send it slowly over the internet to IBM Cloud. So that's not a really good idea. And then, of course, there's just these other harebrained ideas like, oh, I'll just buy a IBM I off of eBay. No joke, I've seen that before. And sure, it came with a tape drive. Wrong generation tape drive, didn't work. So listen, what I really want the users out there to understand is that tape is a beginning. It's a great way to do a backup, but it doesn't bridge the gap to HA or DR. It may check a box somewhere on a spreadsheet somewhere for your management or leadership, but that's about all it's doing for you. Josh, what do you think about tape?
Yeah, I mean, adding to that, when I see people using tape, one of the things, you know, as you mentioned, is that you still have to have that landing zone. You know, what are you going to do with that data? Even if you end up corrupting your system, you can restore over top of it. Does that meet your SLA? Are you okay with how long it's going to take to restore and get your system back up online? You know, can your business handle the type of outages involved around tape? Are you testing your tapes? Are you using the same 7 tapes, rotating through every week and finding out that, you know, 1 or 2 may be bad? What are you doing to ensure that your data is valid? And on top of that, think about your restores and all that. You got to remember, even if you had a complete hardware failure, you go somewhere else. Some of you might run into that serial number problem. How you going to do when you're restoring your application on a totally different, serial number on the motherboard? You may not be able to start up your apps, or even in this case, maybe an operating system if you're not licensed for it.
So funny story that kind of plays off what you guys have shared. We have a customer that our main contact, his primary job is not IT. And when we were talking to him about his tape backup and his DR plan, we asked him, what would you do? And his answer was, I assume I put the tape in and just hit play. So, again, IT was not his forte, and he's a customer of ours now, so he's not dealing with it. But kind of a funny story that plays right into what you shared. Let's go on to, let's scale up. So we've kind of decided tape is not the way to go. It's great to have a copy of your data, but having a place to recover to and do it in a timely manner is what you really have to have. So from there, let's talk about real-time solutions, replication software. We're talking about solutions here that most people are familiar with: PowerHA, Mimix, Rocket, iCluster, iTerra, Maxava. The list goes on and on. There's a lot of these out there. DJ, back to you. What do you see people doing with these replication tools?
All right, Jason, you want the brutal truth?
Let's hear it.
It's all brutal. It's going to be super brutal. Listen, the disclaimer first is I love all these replication software pieces. They're great. They're wonderful. They all have a place. They are not easy. They are not all integrated. They are not, the panacea of awesomeness that these tool makers would want you to believe they are. Why not? Well, number one is licensing. And when I say licensing, I'm really explaining to you the cost of these tools. Everything that Jason just rattled off: Mimix, Rocket, iCluster, iTerra, Maxava, QEDD, Robot HA, they cost a lot of money. And I'm not talking about it's just another, zero on the back of, some line item. No, they're very expensive. In fact, most of the time you can pay for IBM's own PowerHA many times over, just with the savings from these other software features. But so licensing is one. Installation is also a consideration, right? And I'm not really talking about the initial installation. It's the ongoing maintenance after you install it as well, right? Which is the way that these software packages work, right? Is that they will take whatever you put in their scope, right? Whatever objects you put in their scope, and they'll replicate those objects. Often your systems will change. You'll install new packages out of scope from your replication software, and it doesn't see it, or you'll do a complete system upgrade. Parts of the system aren't in scope anymore, and all of a sudden you realize that, especially if you don't do any DR testing, that my DR system is not complete. I don't have all the packages I need to run my business over there. Therefore, my replication is no good. My replicated copy, my HA copy, DR copy is no good. So that is a big problem. I guess I could even pick on PowerHA a tiny bit, but before I do, I want to mention also the replication strategy that these folks use. So if you have a small IBM I, small database, small amount of objects, it's not a bad idea to use this replication method, the software replication method. The problem you run into is that typically when there's a break in connection, it has to resync everything over the connection again. So small IBM I systems, not a problem. Large IBM I systems, you could be out of sync for days or weeks, maybe even months, depending on your connection. And I'm not joking. I have very large customers that sometimes find themselves out of sync for an uncomfortably long time. And it's not great. I think I will talk about PowerHA, IBM's version, because I do like it again, but I want to give you the brutal truth, Jason, later on. So I'll talk to you guys about that in just a little bit. But I know Josh has a whole plethora of things that he wants to say. So Josh, what do you think?
One of my things I always hate with the idea of replication software is the inability to find out, are you replicating what you need? I mean, I know, DJ, you touched upon this. When customers set replication, it's not a bit-for-bit copy. These are setting up objects, data stores, other pieces that we're going to be replicating back and forth to make sure that everything's in sync. Without the proper information put in place to begin with, your backups may not even be valid. That being said, if you don't test these, and this is where I find a lot of customers where they take, for instance, if you're going to replicate to another frame in another location, your data may be there, but does your application run on the new serial number that might have probably have changed since you moved over? Do you have ability to connect to that data? Have you thought about when you have like your replication to the cloud, how is your ERP solution going to be able to connect to that if you're tying into it, for instance? Or how are your end users going to be able to tie into it? Are you running a web interface? Are you going to be changing public DNS records? All those pieces and parts outside of just replication software, I think a lot of times people miss in terms of when they're setting up replication and testing.
Yeah, I think you're right, Josh. Yeah, those are really good points. I mean, if you don't test it, you have no idea if this is even going to work. And that testing methodology that you have to do once or twice a year, that just takes time and effort and ultimately money on the customer's part to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you kind of, the question I was about to ask you there was you kind of hit on the brutal side of it, and you kind of touched there on, if you're going to go this path, the way to survive it, there's some testing. You got to do some testing. Any other quick tips on if you want to do replication and you're going to do it yourself? One or two quick survival tips if you're going that way? Plan.
And you better plan some time to get this all right and correct. I promise you, it's going to be a lot more work than you think it's going to be. And as Josh said earlier, and I'm probably stealing his thunder, you got to test it, man. You got to test it a lot. Make sure you're comfortable in it in a disaster. What do you think, Josh?
I think in addition to that, you got to remember, what are you testing for? When you go into a replication scenario, a lot of times people might say, I'm planning if my building were to burn down or if my data center becomes available, then other people might go, well, what if I lose the 400? If your 400 sits on a network that exists with other servers, but that network didn't go down, but you want to restore your 400 in a different location, that may not be part of your DR plan, change your planning for that type of scenario. So there's multiple scenarios you can possibly plan for, but make sure that you're thinking outside the box of, losing a box, losing a site. There's different scenarios where this may benefit or hurt you.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so DJ, you hinted that you were going to go here. So Power HA, full system replication. Let's hear it.
Oh, gosh. Okay, I'm going to unload on you. But first off, I do love full system replication, and I do love Power HA. However, oh my gosh, are you customers ready to get into this world? This is going to be a world of hurt potentially for you. And this is why we're talking the brutal reality. This is not easy button, IBM, no problem. Okay. First off, if you're really going to do Power HA, you're going to need a supported SAN. Now, some of you may say, wait, I can do geographic mirroring, all that within the operating system. And you're absolutely right. You can. The problem is that if you do that and you have a break in your connection, now you're resyncing everything. So not the big guys, the big boys and girls, they do not use geographic mirror. They use SAN-based replication. So that's the first thing. You need a SAN. So what SANs are supported? Not any little SAN out there. It's either an IBM flash system, a DS8000, certain Hitachi frames, and certain EMC frames. That's it. That's all that's supported. Nothing else is supported for this. Sorry, won't work. Your favorite SAN won't work unless you go with IBM or the other guys I mentioned. Of course, IBM SANs are amazing, so I love them. So who doesn't? So that's number one. Number two, if you're doing full Power HA, the full big boy, the premier solution in IBM stack of solutions and products, that means you're going to need an independent ASP, an IASP. Okay, you're just going to need it. There's no way around it. That means that you will need to test a lot more than you have ever tested anything in your life. I promise you. These large applications need a full testing environment. I would plan 4 to 6 weeks of testing alone just to make sure you understand what to do during a HA or DR event and that it will work for you, right? And that your application is supported and everything that you want to do with your application still works. IASP is a pain in the butt. Again, I love it. It allows you to do very fast failovers. That's why IASP exists, because on the DR site, you have a powered on system with the IASP, I'm going to use a bad term, but varied off. IASP isn't on. As soon as a failure happens, that's when the second site will activate the IASP and all the data that has been replicated over to it and then start the application. So that's why it's so fast, but that's also why it's so hard. IASP is tough. So then you go into, if I don't want to do that, what else do I do? Then you can do the FSR, the full system replication. This is great. This is probably what almost all customers should probably do. But still, it's a lot of work. That means that you are replicating your volume from site A to site B. Site B is powered off, right? so that during a failure, that the site B will then be powered on. When it is powered on, it's almost as if it went through a power off cycle, right? Nothing was saved to disk, that type of thing. So it needs to replay logs, bring up the OS. Once the OS is up, it needs to do have any PowerHA scripts that you have, which may be changing network, changing, the direction of the SAN, replicating, because you don't want it to go, to it anymore. You want it to go the other way if the SAN ever comes back up. So all these things need to happen, and then finally your application needs to come up. So again, I like full system replication probably the best. It is what I would call PowerHA Lite. But folks, you have to plan for this. And I have a customer out there right now that I'm sure is listening and said, DJ, you told me to do this, and it's working quite well for them. But you have to understand too, this customer, larger customer, many terabytes of data, has an army of admins that help them out and know what they're doing. So everything is documented to a T, and they have lots of folks that have the skill to implement this. So, no big deal. I will say one final point, right? And I sort of alluded to it earlier, and that is PowerHA is definitely cheaper than MaxAva, Mimix, Itera, QEDD, whatever it may be. Orders of magnitude cheaper. Right. So there's a large contingent of customers that are going to it, that want to go to it just because of this. Just be aware that you have these pitfalls that I gave you earlier in the conversation. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go to it, but maybe there are also easier ways of getting what you want, and we can talk about that in a bit. So, Josh, I know you have lots of ideas here too, man. What do you think? What can you share with the group here?
Yeah, one of the things, there's many solutions here for many budgets. If you wanted to do, again, as you mentioned, the full HA all the way down to how do I get, something like reserved hardware. When building out an environment like this, I'm a big fan of SAN to SAN replication. It's one of those ones, if you have two SANs and you put the disk in a consistency group, so they replicate over across, and you got the bandwidth to do it, you can have it in a few seconds offsite a copy of it. The only downside I see with these, and this always brings me back to tape or virtual tape, is the fact that you got to remember everything we're doing is replication. So if you delete something, break something, corrupt something, it replicates your corruption. It replicates your deletion. So it will never go away. The tape side or a means to get a point in time restore. But all these will not protect you from that, but will protect you from, again, a site failure. And your point again, DJ, even with this type of environment, if you're replicating in the same building, you go, well, the network's already here, but are you planning on losing the building? If you're replicating to another site, how do you plan on connecting to that site if the primary goes down or the primary SAN goes down? I always want to bring this up, is people have to understand is that, at the end of the day, a server that becomes an island probably does your business no good.
You probably see a lot of that, Josh, with your customer set, with them coming to you with just small connections to the internet, to you guys, right? I mean, yeah. You have to have uncomfortable conversations with them about upping their bandwidth in order for things to work.
Well, it's not such a bandwidth. I always love the fact when you get a customer comes in who wants to replicate to you, or you are using it as reserved hardware or a DR spot, but then you bring up the question, it's like, how are you going to get here after you replicate to us? And you get that silence, the awkward silence of, I don't know. But as part of the joy of the job is walking people through of like, here's some ideas how to get from A to B. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. You have your data, but do you want to get to it? I view it like the safety deposit box and going, well, if you can, an ATM's 24/7, but a safety deposit box is during banking hours. If you want to be able to get to your money, you put it in the box. If you can wait till Monday, then maybe you have plenty of time. But if you need it right away, then the ATM's your way to go.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So you hit on a couple things there. I heard, having people and expertise, and you talked about SANs, having SANs that can actually perform this. And, we deal with a wide range of customers. We deal with some very small, some that are, larger SMBs and some, Fortune 500. And, depending on where you are in that spectrum really impacts how different solutions fit with you. Do you have the people and the expertise? Do you have the infrastructure to support it? So that can really be part of that. You hear great solutions, but you're just not in a position to execute it. So that's when you start getting into, where do I get some help? And, what we've talked about so far are a lot of things that, if you've got the tools and the resources and the people and the desire, you can do them yourself. But The reality is, a lot of people don't have that, and there's a lot of challenges. One of the big challenges is when you deploy something like this, you do it once, or if you test, you do it once per year if you're lucky. A lot of people don't even do that. There's a lot of cloud options out there, and that's where we focus. And with those, my team does this over and over and over, and for lots of customers. So you get the benefit of the experience that comes from people that do this all the time. So let's talk cloud. Let's talk about getting help from others that do this all the time. So DJ, what do you know about Power VS?
Okay. Here's some brutal reality too. Again, I typically love Power VS. It's okay. It's great for giant workloads, that type of thing. But I already told you one of my big pet peeves with it before, right? I mean, we're talking about IBM I here, fellas. IBM I, where everyone puts things on tape. And how do they transfer data? With a tape. And I can't even use a tape with Power VS. Are you joking? That's just the first thing right off the bat. That's terrible. Maybe they'll fix it in the future. Maybe they won't. But it largely is a good service other than that. I want to turn your attention, though, on the way that DJ, classifies cloud providers. I put them in two categories. One is the self-service category, which is Power VS, IBM Cloud, Amazon, Azure, you name it over here, and Google, Oracle. And then the full service providers, which are like Racksquared, okay? And it's very simple to understand. These guys over here, the self-service, the IBMs of the world, you better know what to do in their cloud environment. You better know what to click. You better know where to put your backups, and you just better know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, we know how to do it. We'd love to help you at an hourly rate of $220 an hour, okay? Glad to help you for as many hours as it takes. That's one. Or the full service clouds like Racksquared, where you say, all right, I'm going to move, 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 LPARs over. It's a flat cost, no matter how long it takes. They're going to do it all, and you're going to get a single bill at the end of the month that is just reliable, and you understand it. And I bring that up because that's the other thing about cloud services, is that typically you pay for egress charges. Okay, listen, that's a bad thing in the sense that, if you egress a lot of data, your bill's going to be whoop, and maybe you didn't plan for it that month. If you use a full service cloud, typically, again, no egress charges, it's built into the cost of the cloud. So very, very good. And I think, again, the world of Racksquared, they're really the easy button for me and my customers for migrating any type of IBM I workload, or really VMware workload, Hyper-V workload, you name it, Nutanix workload, to a nice cloud vendor that will fully service your needs, right? So, not to give Josh too much of an ego here, but Josh, you do a great job, and curious about what your thoughts are too about some of these clouds. You hear me talk about them all the time. Good for some customers, bad for others. What do you think?
One thing I enjoy about, quote, being the cloud is, I view this as, almost like a condominium on the beach. You might be able to, your business may not be able to afford that beachfront property, but why not get you on a part of it? When customers come up to us and they have, for instance, like their Cybernext VTL and they want to replicate to it, they might not have the budget to buy a second VTL, but the truth is they don't need to replicate about maybe 1.5 terabytes of data. That's easy enough to push to us to have that offsite and then not have to spend the whole cost of the upfront to put in a new head unit and all the other necessary tools. Maybe they want to buy another I series and another SAN and have all that. They just need a piece of one to have that DR somewhere else and have the expertise and networking in place to help them out. Having that ability to deliver like a white glove solution to our customers is one thing I truly enjoy, is taking somebody who feels, completely, the fish out of water type scenarios and go back to, I want to be able to be comfortable and know that someone's going to be there to hold my hand and walk me through this, and be able to offer that to our customers and put together a true DR plan and go, have you thought about X, Y, and Z, and go through these to help with your business? Because again, a lot of our customers, while I call them fingerprints, they're all very unique. A lot of them have some, very common problems amongst each other. And that's one thing I hope to understand is the cloud, especially from a service what we provide, it's that hand-holding that we can definitely help you through it.
Josh, I think you're hitting the nail right on the head, because as I led off with at the very beginning, is that the IBM I operating system is an integrated operating system. It's a wonderful user experience. Everything is already there. Nothing else to purchase. And it all comes from one vendor, which is even better, right? And what you're really offering is more of that. Everything's already there for brain trust, meaning that whatever solution you pick, Racksquared can support, and just do it. And there's nothing that a customer needs to do. Now, obviously, I know there's some things that, like, especially if you're doing full power HA, you're going to want to test, and the customer will be involved in the test. But you, Josh, you and your team hold their hand, which I think is the most important thing about this, is that you're getting that easy button back into the Power I workload and the way that these folks are used to using their systems. The easy button. You're the easy button. I love it. You're easy button Josh. There you go. There's a new nickname.
Well, I truly enjoy it. One of the things, though, I always go back to, I think you bring up a good point, why I think customers are always afraid of DR. Because at the end of the day, they don't know, am I going to break production? How do I know if it's going to work? And it's easy just to keep putting it off and fighting daily fires and ignore the inevitable of when I want to need this insurance check to be cashed because something happens. And, again, I hate to say it, when a lot of our customers show up with a lot of worry and a lot of angst, and after going through it a couple hundred times, you realize it's really not that bad, and we can help you through it and talk you through and help you put together what you need. And again, that all sometimes it takes that friendly conversation going through of, have you thought about the X, Y's, and Z's? Have you thought about it?
The interesting thing too, I think, is that you can support the entire environment, which I like. So HA and DR could be all within Racksquared. But there's a lot of customers out there, and I know because I bring them to you, right, is that some of them are just looking for a little bit of HA, right, a little bit of DR. So they just want you to host the HA DR environment, and that's it. They want to continue hosting the production environment. And I love that you're accommodating just about any way a customer wants to slice and dice it until they're comfortable taking that big leap of faith, potentially going all cloud.
Anywhere from, working from someone who goes, I got a tape budget. I want to send you a tape once a month and use our reserved hardware to restore. There's from that level to, I want like a rocket software doing real-time replication across from many levels of DR. There's not a single solution that works, but, it's what works for a customer and helps build, best for their business. At the end of the day, you don't need, 5-second recovery time if you're on a much lesser budget, or you may come back and go to say, gosh, at the end of the day, we could be down 4 hours. So what would be best for my company and help us be better protected without us having to, again, go to that full, I got to buy a second frame, second SAN, second location, to go through all these steps and go, there's a better way to cover you for a 4-hour recovery window than spending additional resources.
That's right. It just reminds me of the customer that I talked to you about earlier. They have lots of folks there to help them out, right? They're documented every single possible way to do a failover, whether it's planned or unplanned. They have a lot of folks helping them out with this. But if you're a single admin or something like that, or only 2 admins, how many times are you going to practice doing an HA failover a year? Once, maybe. When that thing needs to work and it doesn't work in the middle of the night, you are going to be terrified. That slow trickle of sweat is going to be down your back, man. You're just going to wish that you knew what to do. But like a large team would know, right? They have lots of folks, talent to help them out. That's again why I like working with you and your guys, Josh. It's great. They always know what to do. Nothing ever phases those folks because they do it every day. So that's why. Well, hopefully not every day there's a DR event.
Yeah. Well, thanks, DJ. That was a whirlwind trip through DR options. The chaos, how to survive it. The guys introduced themselves. You've got years of experience here between DJ and Josh. You've got a guy who has spent years and years on the hardware side of business and seen a lot of success and failures by companies trying to do it themselves. And you've got Josh, who's done a lot of work on the cloud side with the same situation. He's seen people try to do it on their own. He's seen people migrate to the cloud. Regardless of what side of the fence that you're sitting on and where you want to go, if you would like to learn more, if you're looking at this going, hey, I want to buy that and I want to have a conversation, let's talk. If you're sitting there saying, I just still have a few more questions, let us know. Get in touch with us. Josh and I can get DJ on the phone. And in case you can't tell, these guys like to talk shop. So if you've got questions, we can get these guys on the phone to answer them. So thanks for joining. I hope this was helpful, and don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to have additional conversations with you. So thanks. Have a good one.